Hello my friends, Hank here, and today's mission is to somehow make this Huey fly. How are we going to do this? So, what I'm talking about here, quite a while back, probably about a year ago now, I made this Hamburger Hill 937 diorama, and I've had this Huey just kind of resting on top of it for a long time, but I wanted to incorporate it in kind of a more permanent, proper manner at some point. But my idea was to kind of have this flying over the top of the scene in this kind of dynamic pose here, but I don't want to have a big post underneath it that's, super visible and kind of takes away from the immersion of the whole experience. So what we're going to try and do today is find a way to make this fly, so to speak, without looking super goofy. So what I have here that we're going to use for this little experiment today, I have cotton balls. We'll get into that in a bit. I have this wooden dowel. I have a whole bunch of 14 gauge galvanized wire. I have my hot glue gun, drill, with bits over there, and some snippers. And I think we might be able to make some magic happen. So, let's see if we can make this thing fly. Here we go. So again, my goal here is to create a support system that holds this Huey up above the diorama in a dynamic flying position, while at the same time obscuring or hiding that support system so it doesn't take away from the realism of the scene. Looking around online for inspiration of what some other modelers had used for mounting methods, I noticed that a lot of folks have had success covering support posts with smoke effects. And I got the idea to try and use smoke grenade signal smoke as a nice cover for our post. In a lot of reference footage from the Vietnam War, you see US troops using M18 colored smoke grenades to either mark friendlies for close air support, or to mark safe LZs for dust-offs, reinforcements, resupplies, etc. So that's what we're going to try and do. Our first job, once we know where we want to place our bird, is to start prepping the mounting post. We can snip off a section of our dowel to the desired height, roughly to the point of where we want our Huey to rest. Next, we can snip off a decent length of our galvanized wire to start shaping the support mechanism itself. Now, one of the key considerations for me in this build is that I want to be able to remove the Huey model from the base for transportation. I'm hoping to be able to take this dio to shows in the future, and making this piece removable will be super helpful for safe travels. So using this wire, we're going to sort of shape some arms that will cradle the landing skids of the Huey in a solid, balanced, and secure way. We want to get 3 support arms wrapped securely around the main dowel that we can then manipulate into the correct position to hold our helo. After muscling these roughly into position, we can start to take some test measurements and tweak the positioning as necessary. The post is going to look pretty ugly at this point, but that is okay, because in the end, if everything goes to plan, we won't see any of this. And here, as I was finally getting close to the right layout, disaster struck. I did manage to catch the bird, but not until after the force of the fall had snapped our rotor off. Nothing a little surgery can't fix. The trials and tribulations of scale modeling. After quite a bit of tweaking and adjustment to the support arms, we are finally at a place where the structure securely holds our UH-1 and the helicopter is still removable. Fantastic. Next, using a drill bit that matches the diameter of our support dowel, we can drill a hole into our base in the desired position. A quick test fit, and everything is looking good. And now is where the interesting bit begins. Using some cotton balls, we need to start building out the structure of our smoke. We can begin by hot gluing some of these cotton balls around the dowel to cover up that main structural component. As we go, we can stretch out and manipulate the cotton balls to make them look a little more wispy and smoke-like rather than concentrated little poofs. With that first pass of cotton balls on there, let's do one more test fit before we start tackling the wire arms of our support structure. Everything looking good? Let's carry on. We'll tackle the arms the same way we did with the dowel, just adding some hot glue and maneuvering the cotton balls to cover any exposed bits of the wire.
With that main column of smoke fully in place and successfully covering up our support strut, let's add some additional plumes of smoke to make this look a little more realistic and windswept, and less like it's just going up in one straight line. Once we're happy with the shape of our smoke plume, it's finally time to add some color. I chose to go with yellow smoke for this project. M18 smoke grenades were issued in 4 color variants: green, yellow, red, and violet. Red smoke was reserved for marking positions for fire support, and green smoke was pretty quickly found to be essentially useless in the thick green jungles of Vietnam. So that leaves us with yellow and violet. And since I don't have any violet paint at the moment, yellow it is. This can be sprayed all over our plume using our airbrush. Just go slow and avoid overspraying onto the terrain of the diorama itself. It's also important to manipulate the cotton balls a bit while you paint to just make sure that all the nooks and crannies get thorough coverage. At this point, we can reattach our helicopter model and make any final touches to the positioning of the smoke. And for a final bit of realism, we ought to get a smoke grenade in there to act as our source for all of this signal smoke. And with that, we've got ourselves a flying Huey. I am quite happy with how this came out. Obviously the smoke is pretty opaque, at least more opaque than actual smoke in real life, but for our purposes it works very well. And if you look at images of actual M18 smoke, it is super thick, so there you go. Thank you guys for tuning in today. If you would like to check out how I made the base for this Hill 937 Dio, I'll link to my video on that right here. And until next time, my friends, be well, happy building. Cheers.